Good afternoon, dear students. Next session is regarding this inner transition elements. See here, inner transition elements means two categories are there in this type. That is the lanthanides as well as the actinides. That is the lanthanide series as well as the actinide series. They comes under this inner transition elements. So you have to go through in detail of both these categories, lanthanide series as well as the actinide series. Okay, so the first one we can go through, that is the lanthanide series. See here, in the case of d block elements or transition elements, we have seen we had seen that the electrons, the valential electron, the electrons will be entering into the vacant d orbital or the vacant d orbital, isn't it? Here, in the case of inner transition elements, these inner transition elements are otherwise called as the F block elements, isn't it? Just like D block, this inner transition are called as the F block elements. And in these F block elements, here we can see that the electrons are entering into the partly filled or vacant F orbital. Okay, the electrons are entering into the F orbital. That you have to keep in mind. In the case of transition, the electrons are entering into the vacant d orbital. Here the electrons are entering into partly into the F orbital. That is why they are called as the F block elements. And also these F orbitals, they are in the anti-penultimate shell. Anti-penultimate means they are not the outermost one, but just the just inner to the outer. Okay, that means if this is the outermost shell, see, this is the, if this is the outermost shell or the valence shell, this will be the anti-penultimate shell. Okay, so here this F orbitals, the electrons are entering into the F orbital and therefore they are called as the F block elements. Okay, so this means this anti-penultimate means it is inner to the penultimate shell. Okay, inner to the penultimate shell. Anti-penultimate means inner to the penultimate shell. Inner to the penultimate shell. That means if this is, I will tell you in detail. See here in the lanthanides, see for example this anti-penultimate shell means suppose I am writing an electronic configuration 4f0 5d1 6s2. See here, this is the valence shell, isn't it? This is the penultimate shell and this is the anti-penultimate shell, that is inner to the penultimate shell. This is the penultimate shell and again F is again inner to this penultimate shell. Okay, hope you are clear with that. Anti-penultimate shell. Then the next comes the lanthanide series. See, lanthanide series means it consists of how many elements? 14 elements are there in lanthanide series. Okay, 14 elements. Then starting from cerium to lutetium, that is the lanthanide series, starting from cerium ending by lutetium. Okay, that means the 14 electrons will be added to this 4f orbitals in the lanthanum configuration. Okay, so cerium to lutetium, that is the lanthanide series. See, we can go through these elements. See, this yellow colored period, this is the, hope you can see. Okay, so this yellow color, this is the lanthanide series and this is the actinide series. This pink color or the peach color, that is the actinide series. So lanthanide series means starting from cerium atomic number 58, isn't it? Cerium atomic number 58, then comes praseodymium, then comes neodymium, then promethium, samarium 62, then europium 63, gadolinium 64. GD is gadolinium. Then TB is terbium, then DY is dysprosium, then HO is holmium, erbium, erbium, TM thulium, YB ytterbium and LU lutetium. Okay, I will tell you once more. This is cerium, praseodymium, neodymium, promethium, samarium, europium, gadolinium, terbium, dysprosium, holmium, erbium, thulium, ytterbium and lutetium. This is the lanthanide series starting from cerium to lutetium. See how many elements are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so this is the lanthanide series. And also see, in this lanthanide series, the electrons are added up into the anti-penultimate 4f subshell. Okay. Then the next is regarding the occurrence. See this, normally these lanthanides, they are generally called as rare earth. Lanthanides are generally called as the rare earth minerals. Okay, rare earths. And also this the abundance, it is some table is given in your textbook that you just go through. And also the most commonly occurring lanthanide, that is cerium. Cerium is the most commonly occurring lanthanide. Most commonly occurring lanthanide, that is cerium. Okay, just keep in mind these points. Sometimes in one more question it may be asked. Then lanthanides, it is present in larger quantity in the monocyte sand. Okay, from monocyte sand we can extract this lanthanides. From monocyte sand we can extract this lanthanides. That means then again one more point is that this promethium, PM. Okay, promethium atomic number 61. It is not a naturally occurring lanthanide. Not a naturally occurring lanthanide. Promethium, not a naturally occurring lanthanide. That means it is an artificial one. And artificial one means it is obtained by radioactive disintegration. And also this promethium, that means it is radioactive. So it is an artificial, it is made artificially, and also it is the only radioactive metal present in the lanthanide series. So the only radioactive metal present in lanthanide series is promethium 61, number 61. Next you can go through some of the properties of lanthanides. Properties of lanthanides. This also you have to study the properties. I will tell you the main points. And the first one, that is the electronic configuration. We had seen so many properties of d block elements or transition elements, isn't it? Similarly is the case of this f block elements also. First is the electronic configuration. So usually the electronic configuration, it is 4 of n, 5d1, 6s2. Okay, this is the general electronic configuration. Or it can be 4 of n plus 1, 6s2. Okay, and also here n, it is the serial number. N is the serial number. See here, n, 4 of n is the serial number. And for cerium, n is equal to 1. Okay, cerium. For promethium, for praseodymium, PR. For praseodymium, n is equal to 2, and like that it goes on. The serial number, it will be going like that. Okay, so this is the general electronic configuration, 4 of n, 5d1, 6s2. Or sometimes this 5d shell will not be there. Again that electrons will be entering into the 4 of subshell. Okay, 4 of n plus 1, 6s2. So this is the general electronic configuration. Then we can write down the general configuration of these lanthanides. So first one, that is lanthanum. Even though it is the starting element, normally in the lanthanide series, lanthanum is not included. Lanthanum, the electronic configuration, it is 4 of 0, 5d1, 6s2. Okay, then the next comes cerium. Cerium, the electronic configuration is 4 of 1, 5d1, 6s2. Or it can be 4 of 2, 5d0. That means the d electron, it is entering into the 4 of orbital, then comes 6s2. Okay, so that is the case of cerium. So cerium can have both this configuration. That is, it is not clearly mentioned, or it is not clearly stated which one is usually there. Okay, so it is said that it has got both of these configurations. Then the next one, that is the praseodymium, PR. Praseodymium atomic number is 59, isn't it? Praseodymium 59. Okay, praseodymium 59. The electronic configuration is 4 of 4, 6s2. See, there is no regular variation, just some difference are there in these electronic configurations. Then neodymium. Actually, it was expected to be the configuration of praseodymium. It is expected to be 4f2, 5d1, 6s2. But the configuration, it is like that. So this is the actual configuration. Okay, actual configuration. In your textbook, it is given as two tables. You can go through that. That means the predicted configuration as well as the observed configuration. So this I am writing the observed configurations. Okay. Then comes neodymium. Neodymium, the configuration it is 4f4, 6s2. Here it is 4f3, isn't it? Here it is 4f3. 4f3, 6s2. For neodymium, it is 4f4, 6s2. Then neodymium, then comes promethium, PM. For promethium, it is 4f5, 6s2. 4f5, 6s2. Then for samarium, promethium, then comes samarium. Samarium, it is 4f6, 6s2. Then europium, EU. Europium, it is 4f7, 6s2. Then gadolinium, GD. Gadolinium, GD, it is 4f7, 5d1, 6s2. Okay, 4f7, 5d1, 6s2. Then comes terbium, TB. The configuration is 4f9, 6s2. Again, it has got no d orbital, isn't it? Then comes dysprosium, dy. That is 4f10, 6s2. Then comes holmium, HO. Holmium, that is 4f11, 6s2. Then erbium. Erbium, it is 4f12, 6s2. Then thulium, TM. Thulium, TM, it is 4f13, 6s2. Then ytterbium, 4f14, 6s2. Then lutetium, it is 4f14, 5d1, 6s2. 4f14, 5d1, 6s2. Okay, so this is the general configuration or the observed configuration or the actual configuration of these molecules. See here, this is a completely filled configuration, lutetium, 4f14, isn't it? Then see from cerium onwards, see in the case of cerium, sometimes the electrons will be entering in the one electron will be there in the d orbital, or sometimes again that electron it will be going to the 4f orbital, isn't it? So if the electron it is in 4f, then one electron will be in 4f and one in 5d. Otherwise, the two electrons will be entering into the 4f orbital. Okay. See also from cerium onwards what happens? They have got 5d1 electron. Cerium has got 5d1 electrons, and beyond that there is no 5d electron present, isn't it? See from promethium it has got 4f3, 6s2, but we are expecting it like this, that is 4f2, 5d1, 6s2, but the actual or the observed configuration is 4f3, 6s2. That means from here up to gadolinium we can see that there is no 5d orbitals, isn't it? No electrons will be entering into the 5d orbital. From gadolinium onwards, gadolinium has got a 5d1 configuration. See, that means this 4f7 it is a half-filled configuration, isn't it? F can accommodate a total of 14 electrons, so this is a half-filled configuration. Then again from terbium itself there is no d subshell. Then lutetium only the 5d1 electron is there. Okay. So this is regarding the general electronic configuration. Then next one, the oxidation state of lanthanides. Second property, that is the oxidation state of lanthanides. Oxidation state of lanthanides. Generally this lanthanides it will be having a +3 oxidation state. Okay, it is very important. Lanthanides it is having a +3 oxidation state, that is lanthanum 3+. Okay. And also this this lanthanides sometimes +2 and +4 oxidation states are there in addition to +3. Okay, sometimes +2 and +4 oxidation states are there, and while these +2 and +4 oxidation states occurring means at this states they will be either having a noble gas configuration Noble gas means an inert gas configuration or a completely filled configuration while it is having a +2 or +4 state. Then sometimes it may be having a half-filled F subshell. Okay, it may be having a half-filled F subshell, or sometimes it may be having a completely filled F subshell. Completely filled F subshell. So in these three cases, what happens? Thus +2 and +4 oxidation states might occur. For example, see, for noble gas configuration, we can take the example cerium 4+. Cerium 4+ means the configuration, it will be xenon. The nearest inert gas is xenon 4F0. Okay. So therefore, cerium has got a +4 oxidation state. Then for a half-filled F subshell means, examples, you can write this europium 2+ or terbium 4+. Europium 2+ or terbium 4+. That is, the configuration will be xenon 4F7. See, 4F7 means it is a half-filled configuration, isn't it? So for a half-filled configuration, you can write the examples as europium 2+ or terbium 4+. The configuration, it will be like this. Then another example for a completely filled configuration, that is a terbium 2+. A terbium 2+. And the configuration, it is xenon, then 4F14. See, 4F14 is a completely filled configuration. Okay, so these changes may be there in some cases. Usually the general configuration is +3, along with that +2 and +4 are there. Then coming to the size of atoms and ions. The third property, size of atoms and ions. Here comes an important question, usually an asked question, that is the lanthanide contraction. That is very, very, very important. Lanthanide contraction. Okay, very, very, very important. You have to study it for a 4-mark question. Okay, so lanthanide contraction means, see here, starting from lanthanum to lutetium. Normally we are writing it as lanthanum 3+ to lutetium 3+. And also the ionic radius, there will be a regular decrease in the size of the atoms. Okay, along a period there will be a decrease in the size of the atoms as usual. Here also it is occurring, a decrease in the size of the atoms are there from lanthanum to lutetium. But see, the rate of contraction of the size, it is relatively small. Okay, the rate of contraction of the size, it is relatively small, while in the case of lanthanum to lutetium, it is not as much pronounced as in the case of other periods of the periodic table. That means here there is a decrease in the size of the atom while moving from lanthanum to lutetium along that particular period. See, in the case of lanthanum has got lanthanum 3+. It has got an atomic radius of 1.15 angstrom, and while reaching to lutetium 3+, it has got an atomic radius of 0.93 angstrom. See, what about the difference? The difference is very small, isn't it? From 1.15 minus 0.93, isn't it? 1.15 minus 0.93. What about the value? The value will be nearly 0.22 angstrom, isn't it? The total decrease will be equal to 0.22 angstrom. That is a very small decrease in the atomic radii as well as the ionic radii is observed in the case of lanthanides. That is, you have to by heart these values. Starting from lanthanum, it has got an atomic radii of 1.15 angstrom, and for lutetium we will be having 0.93 angstrom. So the total difference, while taking the difference between these two values, you will be having a very small value of 0.22 angstrom. That is a reduced rate in contraction of the atomic and ionic size is occurring along the lanthanides or along that particular period. So that phenomenon we can call it as the lanthanide contraction. Okay, lanthanide contraction. So this lanthanide contraction we can define it as the reduced rate of contraction of atomic and ionic size. Reduced rate of contraction of atomic and ionic size along the period of lanthanides. along the period of lanthanides, it is called as the lanthanide contraction. So this is a very important definition, and you have to study this definition and also these three values. It is also very, very important: 1.15, 0.93 and 0.22 angstrom. Okay, so the ionic size decreases from lanthanum to lutetium, and also the decrease will be while comparing the decrease in between the elements, we can see that the decrease is very small. Okay, and also the additive effect of this decrease, the value, it is about 0.22 angstrom. So this phenomenon, it is called as the lanthanide contraction. So next is another important topic, that is the cause of lanthanide contraction. Okay, so lanthanide contraction, the cause of lanthanide contraction and the consequences, it is very, very, very important. Okay, then the next is cause of lanthanide contraction. I am writing it as LC. You have to write in full form. Okay, so cause of lanthanide contraction means, see here, as we move along a period, what happens is that the nuclear charge is increasing, isn't it? Nuclear charge is increasing along a period, isn't it? That means addition of protons is there, addition of one proton is going on successively along this particular period. So the nuclear charge is increasing, and also while this electron is added, what happens? The electron, it is entering into the 4f orbital, isn't it? Electron is entering into the 4f orbitals, and also the shape of 4f orbital, it is very much diffused. 4f orbital, it has got a very much diffused shape. Diffused means it is spread over a wide area, that is no particular regular geometry or regular shape is there, no regular shape is there for the 4f orbital. That means it is diffused. So what happens is that as the electrons are entering into the 4f orbital, the shielding effect between the 4f electrons, it will be very low. Okay, the shielding effect or the screening effect is very low for these 4f electrons. Okay, and as a result, see there is a shielding effect by this 4f electrons. At the same time, the nuclear charge is increasing as we move along the period, isn't it? So as the nuclear charge increases, what happens? This nuclear charge will be attracting the valence shell electrons, isn't it, towards its side, isn't it? So here the 4f electrons, it is not much shielded. As a result, what happens? The nuclear charge will be increasing, and again, while comparing these two, the shielding effect as well as the nuclear charge, what happens? This nuclear charge is has got a greater power, we can say like that. Nuclear charge has got a greater power. So what happens? An inward pull is experienced by this by the 4f electrons, isn't it? Or the 4f electrons will be attracted more towards the nucleus as a result of the increase in nuclear charge. So here we can write it as shielding effect is very low, and also increased nuclear charge across the period. Increased nuclear charge across the period, and as a result, what happens? The 4f electrons are experiencing an inward pull. 4f electrons has got an inward pull. See, if somebody is pulling this electron towards its side, what happens? The size of the atom will be decreased, isn't it? This, as a result of this inward pull, the size of the atom decreases, and as a result, a contraction in size is taking place, and as a result, contraction in size takes place. Okay, so this is the cause of lanthanide contraction. So we can say it, see it once again. That means along a period, what happens? Nuclear charge increases. At the same time, the electrons are entering into the 4f orbital, and also the shape of the 4f orbital is somewhat diffused. And again, this 4f electrons, it has got a very low shielding effect. Hence, it can't overcome the increased nuclear charge. That means the increased nuclear charge, it will be forcing the outermost electrons towards the nucleus, or an inward pull is experienced by the 4f electrons. As a result, there will be a contraction in size. Okay. As a result of this contraction, we can say it as a lanthanide contraction. Okay. So this is a very important question. You have to study these three. Very, very, very important. I am repeating it again because it is as important. Okay. Then the next is the consequences of lanthanide contraction. Consequences of lanthanide contraction. It is also very important. consequences. So the first consequence, or the it can be the limitation or delimitation of lanthanides, okay, of lanthanides due to this lanthanide contraction. So here the first consequence is that see here only a slight variation in the atomic radii or the ionic radii or the atomic size, isn't it? So what happens is that there is not much variation in their chemical properties, only very slight variations will be there in their chemical properties, and as a result the separation of lanthanides is possible by ion exchange method, okay. Separation of lanthanides is possible by ion exchange method. You have to study this ion exchange method in this chapter itself. So that is the first consequence or the first point regarding this lanthanide contraction. Then the second one, what about the melting and boiling points? See, an inward pull is there, isn't it? A nuclear charge will be having greater power than the shielding effect of the 4f electrons. As a result, this 4f electrons will be experiencing a very high inward pull, isn't it? And as a result of that inward pull, what about the melting and boiling points? Is it high or low? Melting points, will it be high or low? The melting points, usually it will be increasing from cerium to lutetium. Melting and boiling points increases from cerium to lutetium. So this is because of the increase of the nuclear charge, isn't it? Or the attraction force of the nuclear charge, or the inward pull experienced by the 4f electrons, isn't it? It becomes more stronger from cerium to lutetium. That is the next point. Then size of the lanthanides, what about the size? It decreases from lanthanum to lutetium. Lu3 plus size also decreases from lanthanum to lutetium. And also here, see here, the smallest ion in this series is lutetium. Lutetium is the smallest ion. Smallest ion means it can be heavily hydrated, or it can be easily hydrated. Not easily, the exact term is heavily hydrated. It can be hydrated heavily. Then again, as a result of the lanthanide contraction, the atomic radii of the elements are also smaller than as expected. Atomic radii of the elements are smaller than that expected, okay. So that is another consequence of lanthanide contraction. So what happens is that pairs of elements are having the same size. That means zirconium hafnium. I will show you in our zirconium hafnium, then niobium tantalum, then molybdenum tungsten. They are almost having the same size. That means from scandium, yttrium to lanthanides, what happens? The normal increase in size will not be there. Okay, the normal increase in size will not be there in the case of scandium, yttrium to lanthanum, and also the zirconium hafnium, niobium tantalum, and molybdenum tungsten. They are having almost the same size. Okay, and also their properties will also be almost similar, and hence their separation will also be very difficult. So this lanthanide contraction, it can take place in the, this is not the elements present in the lanthanide series, isn't it? They are all present in the transition series, isn't it? They are all transition metals. So these elements that we had seen, they are coming in the second and the third transition series. So this lanthanide contraction, the size of due to this lanthanide contraction itself, here also the sizes are almost similar. So it can occur in these series also. Okay. So next property, that is regarding the color of the transition series, lanthanide series, that we can see in our next session. Thank you.